Most of the time when hip hop is discussing conscious rappers, they think of an aesthetic or a style of dress more so than they think of the subject matter. They think of a brother in an afro wearing a dashiki with an Africa or a fist pendant. You know, they think of maybe De La Soul, Public Enemy, Talib Kweli, Mos Def, Immortal Technique. They never consider the fact that Jadakiss, DMX, Jay-Z, Nas, Biggie, Tupac, these are conscious rappers, and some of their biggest songs are conscious records. Now, before we get into it, people are like, man, don't do the street. So we're going to explain what conscious is. I googled it right here, and it says from the Oxford Language Dictionary, conscious means aware of and responding to one's surrounding, awake. The second definition says having knowledge of something, aware. The third definition says painfully aware of, sensitive to. The fourth definition says concerned or worried about a particular matter. The fifth and final definition says deliberate and intentional. With that being said, the first definition of conscious is aware of and responding to one's surrounding. So if you look at an artist like Jadakiss,
they did the bow ties, I did the ascots, they hit the quick pick, I hit the jackpot. Much as I have, I'm still repping the have-nots.
Which I oftentimes wear the locked hat here, and people think, man, he's the streets. But if you listen to the subject matter of Jadakiss, of the locks, they're telling you about the ills and the trauma, the issues that come with being in the streets, and how they're trying to get away from the streets because the streets only leave you dead or in jail. Jadakiss' biggest solo record that reached number 11 on the Hot 100 Billboard charts is Why.
Why they forcing you to be hard? Why ain't you a thug by choice? Why the whole world love my voice? Why?
Out of all of the records that Jadakiss is on, literally, he is pound for pound one of my favorite artists. There is not one bad Jadakiss verse out there. Jada always comes with it. Out of all the Jadakiss verses, the lowest score he probably did was like a 7 out of 10, 8 out of 10, which is still amazing. There are no weak Jadakiss verses. He's pound for pound one of my favorite artists out of New York, if not my favorite rapper out of New York. Out of all of the amazing records that he did, the one that reached the most success was Why.
Why all the young brothers is dying? Cause they moms at work, they pops is gone, they living with iron. Why?
The subject matter of Why is extremely conscious. So if you look at artists like Jay-Z, Jay-Z's biggest solo record is Hard Not Life. That was one of his biggest records, if not his biggest record, outside of any collaboration he did with like Alicia Keys or Kanye or Beyonce. Hard Not Life is one of the most notable Jay-Z songs, and it's an extremely conscious record. If you listen to the subject matter,
I float for chicks wishing they ain't have to strip to pay tuition. I see your vision, mama.
He's telling you about his surroundings. He's telling you about his environment. He's showing you that he's aware of what's going on around him and the traps that have been set in place for him. Same thing with Tupac. Tupac's biggest songs and his best songs is Brenda's Got a Baby, Keep Your Head Up, Changes. These are some of Tupac's biggest songs. If you listen to the subject matter of most of Tupac's songs, even though they come with a grittiness to it that may think it's street, but if you listen to the subject matter, a lot of it is conscious. He's telling you about his life, about his surroundings, about the police and the things that are happening in his neighborhood and what he wants to change in the world. If you listen to Biggie's biggest song arguably is Juicy. If you listen to Juicy, that's a story of him telling you about where he was and where he's going. It was all a dream. I used to read Word Up magazine, Salt and Pepper and Heaven. This is a conscious record. The feel and the vibe to it is conscious. People miss this because think of DMX, you think of Get At Me, dog. But anybody that's ever been to a live DMX concert will tell you, you will go through a whirlwind of emotions.
Many a nights I cried and called your name out loud, but didn't call you when I was doing good. Too proud. Yet still you gave me love. I wasn't used to that. See, most of the people that gave me love ended up taking it back. This is something new to me.
You would want to fight somebody. You would want to get hyped. You would want to get with a girl, and you would cry because there will be a prayer. DMX is probably one of the first low-key Christian rappers. Like low-key, he was one of the first biggest Christian rappers. If you listen to a lot of DMX subject matter,
Hey, yo, I'm slipping, I'm falling, I can't get up. Hey, yo, I'm slipping, I'm falling, I can't get up.
Is extremely conscious. He's explaining to you his surroundings, and he's aware of what's going on.
Now I got a son. I got to do the right thing for shorty, and that means no more getting high, drinking 40s.
We fall into these issues when we start discussing hip hop because people don't know what the streets are. The streets of today, which I made a video about this that ruffles some feathers, the streets of today are not the streets of yesterday. The street dudes that funded hip hop Back in the days, they did not want to go on Vlad. They did not want to tell you that they were in the car and passed to the next dude that knocked Tupac off. They don't want to Keefy D themselves. They don't want to Vlad 22 themselves. They don't want to AR Ab themselves. That wasn't what they wanted to do. They were streets and they kept it street behind the scenes. Meek Mill is a conscious rapper. People don't think about that. But if you listen to the subject matter, even his last verse on the song with Friday, Proud of Me, that's a conscious song.
Skipping school, daddy did, fuck the principal. She think I'm missing screws when really I'm just missing you.
Meek Mill's best records are the ones that are conscious. And he has more conscious records, if you listen to his albums, than he has Gangsta Kill records. So a lot of times people don't understand what the streets are. Most of the people that came from the streets, the real streets in the past, they told you to get out of it. And any OG from the past that was in the streets, they will tell you that these streets today ain't the streets. This is lawlessness. This is recklessness. This is no codes. This is no ethics. So a lot of times people get confused with what the streets are. Jay-Z has a famous line.
Like I told you, sell drugs. No, hold to that, so hopefully you won't have to go through that.
I was raised in the projects, roaches and rats. If you listen to this, Eminem, in the very beginning of his career, when he was telling you his story, and in the best Eminem to me, I am whatever you say I am.
And all of this controversy circles me, and it seems like the media immediately points a finger at me.
Is one of my favorite Eminem songs, and that's a conscious record. He's telling you about what he's going through and his surroundings. So oftentimes, because people don't understand what the streets are, they forget what consciousness is. Consciousness is anybody that tells you their story, anybody that's telling you what they've gone through and what was going on around them, being aware of what's happening. A lot more artists are conscious than they are not, but people love to conflate the streets with hip hop. I'm gonna keep it real with you. The streets of yesteryear are not the streets of today. And I will keep saying that. There were codes and there were guidelines back in the days, and you did not see the street dudes. They were not trying to be celebrities. They were not trying to be in videos. They were not trying to be on podcasts. They stayed out the way. And most of those dudes will tell you today, get out of the streets. And when you listen to even a 50 Cent, Get Rich or Die Trying.
Sunny days wouldn't be special if it wasn't for rain. Joy wouldn't feel so good if it wasn't for pain.
When you listen to a 50 Cent, there's a consciousness in there. Many Men is a conscious record. He's explaining you what happened to him. A lot of people don't think this because hip hop is the streets and we the streets. Nah, man, what we've been doing lately has been lawlessness and recklessness. Innocent people getting deleted. That's not the streets. So people got to remember what consciousness is. And that's the reason why I gave you the definition. Consciousness is something totally different than what people think. People usually think of an outfit more so than they think of the subject matter. Go back and listen to the subject matter of your favorite artist. Drake, when he first got on scene with songs like The Calm, with songs like Fear, very conscious. He was telling you about his life. He was telling you about what he got going through. The most recent favorite Drake song was on For All the Dogs, and it was called Away From Home. When he was telling you, I remember. You know, I like when people tell you who they are and what they're going through and what they're experiencing. People oftentimes conflate consciousness with Christian rap, and that's the issue. Christian rap and consciousness are two different things. Being conscious is not this daishiki afro thing that people like to make it to be. That's what Christian rap is for. That's what you got D1 for. That D1 is a Christian rapper. He's not a conscious rapper. Being conscious is very much damn near everybody. Nas.
Proud lifestyle, cruising blue Bahama waters. No welfare supporters. More conscious of the way we raise our daughters.
He wasn't going through the things that he was talking about on Illmatic. He was seeing it from his project window. He was seeing his brother go through it. And that's what consciousness is telling your story and being true to who you are. So today, y'all have to remember, stop putting people in these boxes. Stop putting conscious people in their boxes. People that like telling their story and giving you what they gone through is literally what art is supposed to be. That is literally what music is supposed to be. You're supposed to be giving an experience, giving a feeling, if not for nothing, giving a feeling that is closer to your feeling and your experience and what you're going through on the inside. I think people really mix what the streets was and what the streets is. This is how I break down the streets back in the day. You had gangsters, which was at the top. You had hustlers and you had crash test dummies. Jay-Z wasn't a gangster. Jay-Z was a hustler. He'll sell socks. He'll sell polo. He'll sell whatever he had to sell. Jay-Z wasn't a gangster. Jay-Z probably has had run-ins where he had to crash out, but a gangster is the best of the crash out and the hustler. Gangsters like Bumpy Johnson, gangsters like Frank Lucas, gangsters like, you know, all of the gangsters back in the day, they were the best of both worlds. They would crash out and they were hustlers, but they balanced it very well. We don't see that no more. We see YNs crashing out. And I think that's why we're losing sight of what the streets are and what consciousness is and what even this hip hop thing is about. Hip hop is about telling your story and telling what you got going on. That's what it's about. It's not being fake and being phony. You know, it's about having a good time, having a vibe, but it's also about expressing what is inside of you.
Sometimes I look up at the stars and analyze the sky and ask myself, was I meant to be here? Why?
We really have to start really peeling back the layers and looking at it. We have way more conscious artists in hip hop than we think. But that's it for me. This conversation continues with you in the comment section. So comment, like, subscribe, ring that notification bell so you can be notified whenever I release the video. To really help this channel and to help yourself, you should join to become a member. That's how you will get dope content like this first before anybody. Get special perks, members only lives. We on the up and up, man. This next couple of months, next couple of weeks, we about to go hard. So join the Good Readers Club. We definitely appreciate you. We definitely want to have more family. We a big family over here. And we're going to be making thought-provoking content that's creating conversations and pushing the love for hip-hop and sneakers and all things black culture, all things hip-hop culture here. That's what we do, man. We a hip-hop culture. Let me know how you feeling about this in the comment section. Did I just kind of break your idea of what conscious artists are? Let me know in the comment section. Peace.